Hi everyone. This video asks the question, what is the path to knowledge? There are many paths we can take. Rudolf Steiner took the path to knowledge because his heart was set upon truth. His love of truth made truth central in his life. The philosophy of freedom does not claim to offer the only possible way to truth, but is meant to describe the path taken by one whose heart is set upon truth. The philosophy of freedom describes Rudolf Steiner's journey to freedom. The pathway described in the philosophy of freedom is a map of the territory that we will pass through on the journey to free thinking and free ethical action. This journey includes the emancipation of knowing, where we free our thinking from the influences that distort truth. The philosophy of freedom can be called a science of freedom, because freedom is a universal concept, discovered by Rudolf Steiner through the observation of human nature. Anyone willing to introspectively observe their mind can verify Steiner's descriptions in this book. Steiner's heart was set upon the pursuit of scientific knowledge. As a young man, he entered the Vienna Institute of Technology to receive a science education and spent his life sharing the fruits of his scientific research. The aim of the philosophy of freedom is philosophical. Science itself is to become a living whole. The various branches of science are preparatory stages on the way to the all-inclusive science intended here. The philosophy of freedom is a philosophy of science. Steiner's philosophy of science expanded the boundaries of scientific research, discussed what it means to know, along with the purpose of science. Steiner was selflessly devoted to scientific knowledge. It requires selfless devotion to fully dedicate yourself to something. When someone's heart is set upon something, when he loves something enough, he is willing to give up selfishness. The egotistic self only desires to follow his sensual lust, instinctive drives, greed, and passions. The egotistic self is driven by the lower nature. There are 4 paths where we can develop selflessness. They are the path of science, the path of art, the path of religion, and the path of dedicated love to a personality. Which path is your heart set upon? There are 4 fields of human activity in which the human being devotes himself to the spirit, while giving up selfish activity: science, art, religion, and the loving devotion spiritually to a personality. Whoever does not live within one of these 4 activities does not live at all. To fully awaken as human beings and live life to the fullest, it is necessary to give up selfish activity. Selfless devotion is a required virtue in science, art, religion, and the spiritual love of another. The search for knowledge is devotion to the universal in thought. Art is devotion to the universe in beholding. Religion in the depth and breadth of the soul. And dedicated love is devotion with all one's spiritual forces directed to something, someone, that appears to us as a treasured member of the universal whole. In each of these fields, one's heart is set upon something. The practice of science is devotion to the universal in thought. The practice of art is devotion to the universe in beholding. The practice of religion is devotion to the deepening of the soul. The practice of dedicated love is devotion to a treasured personality. Where is your heart? Do you love concepts, which is the universal element in thought? Or do you love the special artistic perception of beholding the world? Do you love the religious deepening of emotions? Or is your love spiritually dedicated to a highly valued personality? The reader of the Philosophy of Freedom is devoted to the universal conceptual element in thought. The book is always talking about concepts, and the universal thinker loves it. He loves ascending into the conceptual world. Because of our twofold nature, we swing back and forth between universal conceptual thinking and our individual feelings. The higher we ascend into the universal nature of thought, the more selfless we become and lose our individual character. Our life is a continuous swinging back and forth between participating in the universal world process and our own individual existence. The higher we ascend into the universal nature of thought, the more we lose our individual character. The farther we descend into the depths of our personal life and let our feelings resound with every experience of the outer world, the more we cut ourselves off from universal life. This raises the question, what is found in universal conceptual thought that makes it worthy of our selfless devotion? Isn't thought dry, and aren't Tom's videos boring? What we find in conceptual thought is knowledge of reality. The book describes the search for the concept that corresponds to something we observe. Combining our observation with the conceptual laws of its existence gives us knowledge of reality. Once we understand the world, it is not difficult to deal with it. By grasping reality, we can act with our full strength and conviction. What makes us weak and life difficult is belief in the fear-mongering and falsehood spread by those who try to manipulate us. We also find in conceptual thought world unity. Universal thought is the only way to reach world unity. Concepts and ideas are the common element in the separate things of the world. This conceptual element is discovered through the conceptual analysis of what we observe. We gradually connect every separate thing, part by part, into a coherent, unified conceptual whole. The preceding discussion shows conclusively that it is futile to seek for any common element in the separate things of the world other than the ideal content provided by thinking. All attempts to find world unity must fail, other than this coherent, ideal content, which we gain by the conceptual analysis of what we perceive. Neither a personal God, nor force, nor matter, nor the blind idealist will can be accepted by us as a universal world unity. All these other principles belong only to a limited field of our observation. Since we all share a common world of universal ideals, it is possible to get along with each other. While each of us may have different intentions, the intentions of free human beings are all drawn from the same world of ideals that we all have in common. Albert Einstein's experience of selfless devotion to the universal nature of thought is profound. Einstein claimed God can be conceived only through the rationality or intelligibility of the world, which lies behind all scientific work of a higher order. The religion of the future will be a cosmic religion. It should transcend a personal God and avoid dogmas and theology. Covering both the natural and the spiritual, it should be based on a religious sense arising from the experience of all things, natural and spiritual, as a meaningful unity. Rudolf Steiner states that when universal principles are revealed to us, we become the all-one being that lives within everything. When we sense and feel, perceive, we are isolated individuals. When we think, we are the all-one being that pervades everything. This is the deeper meaning of our two-sided nature. We become conscious of a purely absolute principle revealing itself within us, a principle that is universal. By grasping reality as thought, we reach the primary source and sustaining principle of all existence. Everything is part of a great whole. Everything moves forward according to ideals at the core of the world. When we speak of the essential being of a thing, or of the world altogether, we cannot therefore mean anything else at all than the grasping of reality as thought, as idea. In the idea, we recognize that from which we must derive everything else, the principle of things. What philosophers call the absolute, the eternal being, the ground of the world, what religions call God, this we call the idea.